In today's fast-paced world, loneliness silently eats away at countless men, leaving them trapped in cycles of frustration and quiet despair. This condition is not merely the result of circumstance, but often the outcome of repeated mistakes that weaken confidence, purpose, and personal growth. When a man consistently falls into patterns of poor discipline, lack of direction, or unhealthy dependence on others, his isolation deepens. The truth is clear. Loneliness thrives where these destructive habits remain unchecked. To rise above it, one must first recognize and avoid 6 fatal mistakes that silently destroy both inner strength and future opportunities. Number 1. Lack of daily discipline. Discipline is the silent architecture of every great life. Without it, a man drifts like a ship with no anchor, tossed around by every distraction, every impulse, every fleeting emotion. When a man fails to build daily discipline, he unconsciously hands over control of his life to chance, to chaos, and to the whims of others. He may wake up late, waste hours scrolling on his phone, eat whatever junk is nearby, postpone tasks that matter, and end his days with the sickening realization that nothing has truly moved forward. Each day looks identical to the one before, empty, stagnant, and meaningless. But here is the cruel truth. Loneliness feeds on undisciplined men. Without structure, a man begins to collapse inward. His body weakens because he skips workouts, his mind dulls because he never studies or sharpens his skills, and his spirit erodes because he cannot trust himself to follow through. And when you cannot even respect your own word, how can anyone else respect you? Daily discipline is not about rigid punishment or living like a machine. It is about reclaiming power from laziness, distraction, and weakness. When you wake up at the same time every day, when you force yourself to exercise even when you don't feel like it, when you consistently work on your goals instead of waiting for motivation, you send a message to yourself: I am in command of my life. That simple message builds confidence. It makes you reliable, not just to yourself, but to others. Women notice it, friends admire it, and opportunities flow to disciplined men because people can sense control and strength. Undisciplined men, on the other hand, remain stuck in cycles of regret. They chase short-term pleasures to avoid long-term growth. They binge on entertainment. Instead of building skills, they complain instead of creating. They envy instead of evolving. And then, at night, they lie awake, wondering why their life feels empty, why no one takes them seriously, why they are invisible. The answer is always the same. They betrayed themselves, one small choice at a time. If you want to escape loneliness, begin here. Forget fantasies of instant success or overnight transformation. Build the discipline of small victories. Wake up early. Read instead of scrolling. Train your body daily. Create before you consume. Do what you said you would do. These tiny habits compound into strength, clarity, and respect. Discipline is not just a habit. It is the lifeline that drags a man out of isolation and gives him back the fire to live with purpose. Number 2. Living without purpose. A man without purpose is like a warrior without a battlefield. He may be alive, but he is not truly living. Each day drifts into the next, with no direction, no progress, no sense of meaning. He wakes up not to conquer, but simply to get through the day. This quiet emptiness is the breeding ground of loneliness. Because when you have no mission, no vision, no fire driving you forward, life becomes a gray fog where nothing matters. Without purpose, a man becomes reactive instead of proactive. He waits for things to happen instead of making them happen. He works jobs he hates because he has no bigger goal, pulling him towards something greater. He tolerates toxic relationships because he has no higher standard to measure against. He wastes his best years scrolling, gaming, drinking, or chasing meaningless pleasures, all while time silently slips through his fingers. But the most dangerous part is this. Purposeless men often confuse comfort with happiness. They think avoiding pain equals success. They settle for mediocrity because mediocrity feels safe. Yet deep inside, their soul is screaming, demanding more, craving a reason to fight, to build, to matter. And that scream, ignored for too long, transforms into bitterness, envy, and despair. A man with purpose, however, is different. He doesn't drift, he directs. He doesn't ask, "What do I feel like doing?" He asks, "What must I do to move closer to my vision?" Purpose turns discipline into fuel, suffering into growth, and loneliness into solitude that strengthens him. Even when he is physically alone, he is never truly lonely, because his mission is with him, guiding him, pushing him, reminding him that his existence has weight. If you feel empty, if your days blur into one another, the problem is not that life is meaningless. The problem is that you have not yet chosen your meaning. Purpose is not something handed to you. It is forged through decisions, challenges, and relentless pursuit. Choose a target. Build your career, sharpen a craft, transform your body, create something that outlives you. The specifics don't matter as much as the commitment. Once you pick a path and walk it with conviction, everything changes. People respect a man who knows where he is going, and women are drawn to the energy of a man on a mission. Without purpose, life is suffering without reason. With purpose, even suffering becomes sacred. The choice is yours. Drift endlessly in emptiness, or stand up, declare your mission, and live with fire. Number 3, surrounding yourself with toxic people or total isolation. Human beings are wired for connection, but the quality of those connections determines the quality of life. When a man surrounds himself with toxic people, his energy, confidence, and ambition are slowly poisoned. Toxic friends mock his dreams, belittle his progress, and celebrate his failures. They drag him into gossip, addictions, and mediocrity. They are not allies, they are anchors, keeping him chained to a life without growth. Spending years in such circles guarantees one outcome: the slow death of self-respect. Yet, the opposite extreme is equally destructive. Many lonely men, tired of betrayal and negativity, retreat completely into isolation. They lock themselves away from the world, convincing themselves they don't need anyone. At first, solitude feels safe. No rejection, no conflict, no disappointment. But isolation soon rots into something darker. Without the sharpening edge of human interaction, social skills decay, confidence collapses, and opportunities vanish. The man becomes a ghost, invisible to society, existing but not truly participating in life. The truth is, both choices, staying among toxic people or hiding in isolation, lead to the same destination: loneliness reinforced and multiplied. Toxic company kills you from the outside. Isolation kills you from the inside. Together, they form a vicious cycle. After being drained by bad people, men isolate themselves. After being isolated too long, they become desperate for contact and fall back into toxic circles. The loop continues, year after year. The only way out is intentional connection. A man must learn to cut off dead weight, friends who envy him, partners who manipulate him, circles that keep him small. Cutting ties is painful, but so is rotting slowly in their presence. Once the poison is gone, the next step is to seek out environments that elevate, not drain. Communities of growth, mentors who challenge, allies who believe in progress. These are the people who remind a man of his potential. And remember this: a strong mission attracts strong people. When you are building something meaningful, when your life radiates purpose, you naturally repel parasites and draw allies. The right people will not appear by accident. They appear when you stop tolerating the wrong ones and start living a life worth joining. Loneliness is not just about being alone. It is about being surrounded by the wrong energy, or no energy at all. Choose carefully. Who you allow into your life can either be the chain that drags you into despair or the ladder that pulls you out of it. Number 4, neglecting physical health. The body is the vessel of your spirit, the armor of your mind, the first signal of your discipline. Yet too many men treat their bodies as if they were disposable, as if neglecting health carried no consequences. They skip workouts, eat processed junk daily, drink excessively, and stay up until dawn consuming distractions. At first, nothing seems wrong. Youth hides the damage. But slowly, the body begins to betray them. Energy collapses, posture weakens, strength fades, and the mirror reflects a man who no longer respects himself. When you neglect physical health, loneliness becomes inevitable. Why? Because attraction, respect, and influence are all tied to how you carry yourself. A man who looks tired, sluggish, and out of shape communicates weakness before he even speaks. People subconsciously trust and admire men who radiate vitality, not those who signal decay. Even more dangerous, poor health erodes self-confidence. Each skipped workout is a broken promise to yourself. Each unhealthy meal is a reminder of your lack of control. Over time, your mind begins to whisper, "You are not strong. You are not worthy." That inner voice becomes your prison. Physical health is not about vanity, it is about power. A strong body fuels a sharp mind. Exercise floods your brain with chemicals that fight depression, sharpen focus, and boost confidence. Training your body daily is training your willpower. Every rep, every drop of sweat, is proof that you are capable of self-mastery. And when a man masters his body, he begins to master his life. Lonely men often numb themselves with comfort, fast food, alcohol, endless entertainment. These things feel like relief, but they are poison, disguised as pleasure. They rob you of the very energy needed to break free from isolation. Comfort makes you weak. Challenge makes you alive. The gym, the run, the discipline of eating clean, these are not punishments. They are weapons. They are declarations that you refuse to decay quietly. If you want to escape loneliness, start with your body. Lift weights. Train daily. Eat real food. Sleep with discipline. Your reflection should be a reminder of your strength, not your shame. When you rebuild your body, you rebuild your confidence. And when confidence returns, opportunities, respect, and connection follow. The man who honors his body honors his life. Neglect it, and you are already halfway buried. Care for it, and you become unstoppable. Number 5, becoming dependent on emotions and external validation. One of the most silent, yet destructive mistakes men make is building their self-worth on the unstable foundation of emotions and the approval of others. When a man lives this way, his mood, confidence, and sense of identity rise and fall like a leaf in the wind. A compliment makes him feel invincible. A rejection destroys him. A few likes on social media inflate his ego, while silence from others crushes it. He becomes a slave, not to chains of iron, but to the invisible leash of other people's opinions. This dependency is poison. It teaches a man to constantly ask, do they like me? Do they notice me? Am I enough for them? Instead of asking the only question that matters, am I enough for myself? The man addicted to external validation never develops inner strength. He is forever chasing approval, bending himself to fit the expectations of others, losing his authenticity piece by piece. And ironically, the more he chases validation, the less respect he receives, because people sense neediness and instinctively withdraw from it. Even worse, living through emotions alone is dangerous. Feelings are temporary. They rise and fall like waves. If you only act when you feel like it, you will accomplish nothing. If you stop every time sadness, anger, or fear touches you, you will stay paralyzed. Discipline, not emotion, must be the engine of a man's life. Emotion can inspire, but it cannot lead. The man who allows feelings to dictate his path will always remain unstable, ungrounded, and weak. True strength comes from anchoring your identity in principles, not opinions. From learning to act despite fear, to stay steady despite rejection, to continue building even when no one is watching. This is how self-respect is forged. When you no longer need the crowd's applause to validate your worth, you become magnetic. People respect the man who walks his path regardless of approval, because deep down, everyone wishes they had that same freedom. If loneliness haunts you, stop begging for attention like a starving dog. Stop letting emotions toss you around like a storm. Build yourself so strong that your presence validates itself. The day you no longer crave permission to exist is the day you truly begin to live. External validation may feel sweet in the moment, but self-respect is the only fuel that never runs dry. Number 6, living stuck in the past. The past is a teacher, but for many men, it becomes a prison. Instead of taking lessons and moving forward, they replay old wounds like broken records, lost relationships, missed opportunities, failures that scarred their pride. Each memory is carried like a chain, dragging them back into moments that no longer exist. They spend today haunted by yesterday, blind to the fact that life is slipping away while they stare at closed doors. Living in the past is seductive because it feels safe. You already know the story. There are no surprises. Pain becomes familiar, and familiarity becomes comfort. But this comfort is poison. It keeps a man reliving heartbreak instead of opening his heart again. It makes him glorify better times instead of building better ones now. It traps him in nostalgia and regret, leaving him powerless in the present. The danger is not just emotional, it's existential. When a man refuses to let go of the past, he kills his ability to create a future. He sabotages relationships because he compares every woman to the one who left him. He avoids opportunities because he fears repeating old failures. He doubts himself endlessly because of mistakes he made years ago. In reality, the past is gone. Only the scars remain, and scars are meant to remind, not to imprison. Freedom begins when a man chooses to reinterpret his past. Instead of asking, "Why did this happen to me?" he must ask, "What did this teach me?" Pain becomes power when it fuels growth. Regret becomes wisdom when it shapes better choices. Every failure, every betrayal, every heartbreak can either chain you or sharpen you. It depends on whether you hold it or release it. Loneliness thrives in men who cannot move on. They reject the present, so they disconnect from people around them. They live in memories, so reality feels unbearable. But the man who embraces the now, who forgives himself and steps forward, discovers that life was waiting for him all along. Remember this truth. The past cannot be fixed, but the future can be forged. Yesterday is dead. Today is alive. Tomorrow is yours. If you have the courage to stop staring at the ashes and start building the fire again. Loneliness is not destiny. It is a choice reinforced by silence and inaction. Every man has the power to rise, to break the chains, and to build a life that commands respect and radiates strength. But power only comes to those who act. You cannot think your way out of loneliness. You must fight your way out of it. Step by step, choice by choice, discipline by discipline. You carve yourself into someone unrecognizable to the man you are today. Now I want to hear from you. What part of this message hit you the hardest? Which mistake have you seen in yourself or in the men around you that must be destroyed first? Share your thoughts in the comments below, because your voice might give another man the courage to change. And if this resonated with you, don't just watch and move on. Hit the like button, share this with a brother who needs to hear it, and subscribe to the channel so you never miss what's coming next. Together, we are building a community of men who refuse to be weak, who refuse to be forgotten, and who choose strength over despair.